Hi guys, welcome back, Nesty here. I'm finally back from my vacation in London, so I'm finally able to do the review of our two new monsters, I think Ramu and the Sphinx. So let's directly go into it. First we will start with, I think it's Ramu. Where do we have him? There, Ramu. Let's take a look at the fire one. FireRamu. 26k HP, 2.8k attack, 1.7k defense. I think the stat distribution is okay. Lots of attack and acceptable HP. Obviously the defense is a bit low. Could have been a bit higher with a bit less recovery, but I think the distribution is still fine. Let's take a look at the skills. Okay, so he has a resistance lead in dungeons, which means the leader skill is useless in my opinion. An SP siphon and an adrenaline skill, both crit based. So that means we are able to interrupt actives and heal up on an attacker, a fire attacker. I think he's okay. Obviously he's not a monster, but I think he's usable. The SP Siphon is really decent, which means he gets his adrenaline skill faster and is able to interrupt the actives or the SP gain of your opponents, which at least in CVC is usable. He's too weak for the arena, obviously, but I think he's usable in the CVC. Maybe I'll go for one on the Smurf to show you that he's not that bad. So yeah, I would probably jam him HP crit rate attack. He needs some survival. So yeah, the HP one is probably the better one. And to offensive gems, we need the crit rate because both skills are crit based, and an attack gem to obviously deal some more damage. So yeah, I think the fire one is okay. Like nothing special, but okay. The water one. Where do we have him? Ramu. There. Yeah, I don't even have to take a look at the stats. I can see it's a taunt and a thirst. Yeah, not the best skill set. I would not go for him. Even if his stats are not bad and it's a 2-turn taunt for 80%, I think he's not good enough. The wood one. Where do we have the wood one? There. Double stun. Balanced, that's okay. 29k HP, 2.1k attack, and nearly 2k defense. Stats are not that great, but okay. Yeah. I don't really like the skill set. The proc rates are too low. In general, it's not a bad skill set. Like, he's really not bad. But I think if you are able to use him really depends on the skill books. The stun chance needs to be higher and the active needs at least some higher proc rate or even one more turn. If he gets one more turn and he 20% on the passive, he's really decent. But at the moment, I don't think he's that strong. So yeah, we really have to wait for the skill books to say if the wood one is decent. So I think the fire one out of the RGB ones is fine, and the other two are not that great, while The wood one depends on the skill books if he's usable. Let's see the light one. Where is it? There. Okay, stat-wise, much better. 30k HP, 2.8k attack and 2.4k defense. That's totally fine. Could have been a bit less recovery, but he's still totally fine. So let's take a look at the skill set. A 20% moral boost and a 60% defense down. It's a bit like the Wood Banshee. Yeah, not that great. I think the skills in general fit each other. You get your SP faster, which means the active will hit faster, so you will do your defense down. But the proc rates and the SP gain is not enough in my opinion. I think he really depends on the skill books as well. If he can maybe get at least 10% SP and like 10-20% defense down, then he will be usable. But for now, I think he's not strong enough. You can use him, for example, for CVC, but that's it. He's not bad, but to be really useful, he needs decent skill books, which we don't have at the moment, so we don't know if he will be useful. So we have to wait for the books. Let's see the dark one. Where is it? I don't have to take a look at the skill set, the stats. I already see the silence and the taunt, only one turn. Yeah, the dark one is really shit. So in my opinion, when it comes to Ramu, the fire one is usable. Wood and light depend on the book upgrades. They can be really decent, but at the moment without the books, they are not good enough in my opinion. So yeah, nothing special with the Ramus. Let's take a look at the Sphinx, because I think the Sphinx is really interesting. So yeah, there we have the Sphinx. Before we go into the Sphinx, we have to talk about our new skill, the Unflinching Strike. It says, slightly increases attack power in proportion to the target's maximum HP, which in general is like the same as the Courage Strike. And yeah, so far I don't know 100% sure that what I have heard is correct. And what I heard is that the Unflinching Strike is exactly the same mechanism as the Courage Strike, same scaling as the Courage Strike, but just a bit weaker. The Courage Strike has a 500% increased damage if we are hitting max HP, which is I think 5 million, maybe 6, I'm not totally sure, one of those, 5 to 6 million. Then we are reaching the gap of the scaling of the Courage Strike. The Courage Strike, not Unflinching. The Courage Strike. And the thing that I have heard is it's exactly the same with the Unflinching Strike, that it reaches the maximum damage at 5 to 6 million HP. So yeah, like I said, the Courage Strike has a 500% increased damage, which means it's skill multiplier by 6. Like 100% is your normal attack plus 500%, which means it's 6. While the Unflinching Strike, a 300% increase, or a multiplier of 4, which means it's 4/6 of a Courage Strike. So it's a bit weaker, but I think it's still usable, because if we get more of those Unflinching Strike monsters like the Sphinx, it means people that don't have the perfect lineup already are able to increase their damage. And some of them, in my opinion, even fit endgame lineups. So it's weaker than Courageous Strike, but I think it's really good, because Courageous Strike should still be the luxury version. Like, it's really hard to get decent Courageous Strike attackers, while maybe those Unflinching Strike monsters will be much easier to get, like for example with the Sphinx. So the skill in general is not as strong as the Courageous Strike, but most likely stronger than every other normal attacker. Maybe not exactly the water bath, but they are around that level. So that means a lot of you will increase their Titan damage if you are going for a Sphinx. So let's take a look at the monster itself. The Fire Sphinx. Interesting, it's not an attacker, it's a tank with damage increasing skill with the Unflinching Strike. Yeah, 36k HP, 2.5k attack, and a bit above 2k defense. I think that's decent. It's a lot of HP, so we might be able to skip an HP gem and go for a defense gem. So yeah, the skills are unconditional, which means you don't have to go for a crit rate gem. So you can, for example, go attack, attack, defense. Obviously, if you want, you can go attack, attack, HP as well. But it will be really hard to heal up those. It will be probably like 60k HP. It's not that easy to heal 60k HP. And because of the curas, it might be better to go for a defense gem. So I would probably go for an HP lead, so that we are above 40k, I would say. Like, for example, the Cupid. And go for a defense gem, so that the shield is a bit stronger, that it's easier to heal the Sphinx in general. But yeah, just that the Sphinx is a tank is not bad. The attack skill is not that low. Let's take a look at the skill set in general. It has an attack down for 70% 2 turns and the Unflinching Strike, plus the attack lead. The attack lead obviously is really, really nice. So yeah, if you have the Sphinx as a variant, you should probably make use of the attack lead if you don't have something else that is stronger, like let's say a Shinobi or Wukong lead. Yeah, with the attack down, we already have, like, let's say, the best debuff, or at least the most needed debuff, with the defense down obviously, and a damage increasing skill. I think that's a really perfect skill set. It's like, let's say, a weak version of the Water Indra. Has the attack down as well and the Courageous Strike, while we have here the Unflinching Strike. Yeah, there's nothing much to say for the Fire one in my opinion. It's really strong. Has the advantage that it already has an attack down, which means if you are, for example, going for 2 of them, you might be able to throw out an attack downer of your lineup completely. Like, maybe I'm even trying that myself. Like, you have seen probably my lineup at the moment has Naza as lead, Fire Odin, Fire Word, and a Cura. So maybe I will switch out all 3 debuffers and go for a Yuki, double fire Sphinx, since they have a lot of HP, it will not be that hard to survive some rounds. So it's still okay to not give the Cura resistance. And yeah, it might result in more damage. Obviously, I have to take out a Firebird, which is a lot of damage as well. And I need another Leech set, which is not that easy to get. But at least I think it's worth a try. That means I have 3 attack downer with 2 Sphinx and the Fire Shino, and I hope that might be enough. But yeah, for now I can't say that for sure. But as long as you're not using 6 Courage Striker, I think they are very, very good for you. So I really like the Fire one. Like I said, gem-wise, I would probably go double attack and either an HP or defense gem, depending on what you like more. Let's go for the water one. Even more interesting, it's a defender. But look at these stats. Really, really nice. The attack is okay. The defense is really, really high. The HP is okay as well. And it's a low recovery stat. So stat-wise, the water one is really nice. Skill-wise, Unflinching Strike on the passive. Obviously better than on the active, if you are trying to deal more damage. And as an HP Siphon on the active. Meh. That's really bad. I'm not sure. Even with such a great stat distribution, I don't think the water one is worth it. If you are fighting the Fire Titan, normally you have on both sides, left and right, 2 healers. Either with, I don't know, Cura, Ribbonus, some even have Mio Wings, and the other one obviously is the Cotine. So you don't even have to go for defense. With the Cotine, you have so much defense, so they will survive like forever. So obviously attack, HP on the water one, or if you have like Ruin set, attack crit rate HP. You don't need too much resistance, so that's totally fine as well. I think the water one is usable, but not as strong as the fire one, because you have other monsters that are dealing a lot of damage, like for example the water bath. So I would probably prefer the fire one over the water one, but the water one still is really decent. Like I said, it's the damage dealing skill on the passive with the Unflinching Strike, and the stat distribution is really decent. So you might want to go for the water one as well. But like I said, I like the fire one more. Let's take a look at wood there. The wood one is the attacker, which is really interesting in my opinion, because the wood element in general is lacking attackers a lot. It's like you only have exotic monsters that once were faster rebirth, like, I don't know, the Thor, the Janna. Then you have the Pinolo, which is extremely limited as well, or the Net 5s with the Garuda and the Merlin, which obviously are not easy to get as well, and that's it. That's for most people the biggest hurdle to attack the Water Titan, to get those monsters. Like, most people in the early game, mid game, some even in the later game, don't have these monsters, and therefore they can't attack the Water Titan properly, because there's nothing that deals damage. For that, the Wood Sphinx as an attacker is perfect. The skill distribution is really decent. The HP is fine, it's a very high attack stat, and it's a very high defense stat for an attacker as well, with a very low recovery stat. So the stat distribution on the Wood Sphinx is decent, like really decent. Skill-wise, sadly the Unflinching Strike is on the active, not on the passive. That would be perfect. And the other skill is the Expose Weakness. I'm not 100% sure if you can use the Expose Weakness on a lineup like I have. There are monsters that you probably can't change. Like, let's say, for example, the WoodRamu. WoodRamu is attacking not extremely fast, but not slow. So maybe I have here the Sphinx has a fast attack animation. We can try it after the review. Has a fast attack animation as Evo 3. And there are some monsters that are really important for a wood lineup or a water titan lineup, like Hana, Venus. Those monsters are hitting not that slow, but not fast as well. So it might happen that the Sphinx is first, then your healer come, and after that the other attacker comes. There are not many attacker, in my opinion, that have a very fast attack animation. I'm thinking the Thor has a decent attack animation. He's fast, in my opinion. The Janna is extremely slow, at least with the active, and that's what we want to combine. The active of the Janna, for example, with the passive of the Sphinx, so that the exposed weakness hits first, and after that the Janna comes and can make use of that debuff. Then we have the Pino. Maybe usable with the Pino, it depends. The active is really slow, so I think that might not be combinable if the Sphinx is fast. And I think that's it already. Maybe if you combine two of those, they can make use of each other. Like the one hits the exposed weakness and the other one slightly behind the first one with the exposed weakness hits the Unflinching Strike. So that has to be tested. Don't know, I can probably do it myself. But yeah, obviously this is the most important factor in my opinion, if you can make use of the exposed weakness. Other than that, Wood might still, even if you can't make use of the exposed weakness, usable for you. It's the only monster that you can get at the moment that hits hard against the Water Titan. It's not that there are too many Wood Merlins and that stuff. And it's a usable leader skill. That combined, in my opinion, is very decent. So if I think about myself, I would say the best one is the fire, and then the wood comes, and the last one is the water. But it can be that for you, by far the most important one is the wood one, because it gives you access, or completely access, to the water titan. But in most situations, I think all three are usable. Yeah. It really depends on the animation. I will do that after that to see how fast is the animation of the Sphinx. The light one. Attacker as well. Has no Unflinching Strike. Skill stat-wise, decent in my opinion. Lots of HP, a very high attack stat, and an acceptable defense with around 2k. It's not too much, but I think it's okay with the HP. The HP are really high for an attacker. skill-wise, Elemental Edge and Seal. If I'm not completely wrong, this is exactly the same skill set of the Fire Indra, with the 70% 2-turn Seal and the Elemental Edge. Let's take a look. Yeah, exactly the same. Elemental Edge and 70% 2-turn Seal, and even an attack increase variant. Yeah, obviously the leader skill is stronger in clan battles, and the other one is general leader skill, but yeah, it's a very, very similar monster. But they are not the same monster. If you think about it, the Fire Indra, in my opinion, obviously is an arena monster. But I think he needs resistance as a fire monster, because there are a lot of water monsters that are very annoying for the Indra. For example, obviously the Water Arthur. If you're not going for resistance, he will be very annoying, and he's in general very annoying because he has like always a pugilist set. So there is Water Nightmare, for example, that directly seals the Indra and takes a big advantage of him. So in my opinion, the Indra needs a resistance. But what does a Light Sphinx need? In my opinion, there are not many strong debuffers that have the Dark element. But Dark is hitting a lot harder, and you will face a lot of Dark monsters in the arena. That means you should probably sacrifice some resistance on the Sphinx for more effective HP, because you have to survive some of those Dark Miho hits, Dark Cupid, and whatever you see in the arena. You will see a lot of Dark monsters. So, in my opinion, for the Sphinx, if you want to use him, her, whatever, in the arena, I think he's usable, but not needed, I would say. Obviously, it always depends on your own playstyle. If you don't like Titans, but you are completely into PvP, the light one will be better for you. But if you have no preferences, I would say the light one is not worth it, because at least the RGB versions already are very decent. And there are lots of other monsters like the Light Sphinx. So yeah, it's a decent monster, has a good stat distribution, has two very useful skills for the arena with a damage increase against element, or every element, and the seal against annoying aggression monsters. So yeah, usable, but keep in mind, one light monster is not enough if you want to use him on your offense. One light monster is not enough and will be killed very, very fast. Often you see like 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 dark aggression monsters that you have to deal with. So if you want to use the Sphinx in the arena, you need, in my opinion, at least 2 other light monsters in your lineup. But it can work out. But my personal preference is more RGB in this case, and we still haven't seen the dark one. Obviously, I have seen the dark one already, as you can see. The dark one. Look at the stat distribution. It's like perfect. You can't hope for a better stat distribution. Much HP, very high attack, very high defense, and an extremely low recovery. Sounds very nice. Let's take a look at the skill set. 80% chance to blind for 2 turns and the Unflinching Strike. What does that mean? I think the dark one is extremely strong. It's like, let's say, a weak version of the Dark Thor. He has a usable debuff on the passive and a very strong damage increase on the active. So yeah, can fit into your lineup in my opinion. For example, I'm trying at the moment to change my front from a glass cannon front to a front that has an HP gem, so it can survive a bit longer, while I want to use, if possible, a defense up healer. So if I want to survive longer, in my opinion, blind is a decent debuff. Obviously, light has a 100% crit rate, so the blind is much more useful against the light titan than, for example, the RGB titans, where it's really unimportant. You don't need it. But for the light titan, in my opinion, it's a very decent debuff. And for example, that's what I'm missing at the moment. I'm using a Kokomaru that has obviously the attack down and the blind, but I want to directly use it, and yeah, not exactly want the Kokomaru in my lineup. He's decent, but obviously he's one of the weak points in the front at the moment, in my opinion. So we have a very strong leader skill and two skills that I want to use, which means if it's variant, I think he fits into my lineup. So yeah, as you can see, I have him Evo 3 already, and he's variant, and I will try to use him on the right side probably as a blinder that deals damage with two other attackers, and if possible the defense up healer. So yeah, obviously I will go for attack crit rate HP because I want to test it with the HP gem. Yeah, what are the best ones of them? I think it's very hard to say that for the Sphinx. In my opinion, all 5 are usable. For most people, in my opinion, the wood one will be the best because you're lacking wood attackers. The fire one, in my opinion, is equal. He has the best debuff and an increase in damage. The attack down might let you use one less debuffer and one more attacker, which in the end results in even more damage increase. So I think fire and wood are kinda equal. And yeah, obviously the dark one is really strong as well. As you can see, I'm using him, or I try to use him as well. So these 3 are much better than the other 2, in my opinion. So it depends on your own box, on your own lineups, which one is really the best. All 3 are very decent. Even the water one is very decent, but in my opinion behind fire, wood and dark. And yeah, obviously then there is still the light one. If you don't like titans and that stuff, the light one is obviously the best for you. But if you have no preferences, I think the light one is the worst of them. So yeah, that's how I see it. I was going for the dark Sphinx because I don't need any of the other ones. But it's not that every account is looking like mine, so I'm 100% sure that one of the RGB ones will increase your damage. So now let's test the attack animation of the Sphinx. Let's see where I have it. There. let's say, let's just use this one. I need a fire one. And a water one. Sadly, water has no SP gain, so I might not be able to see the active. Let's just use a healer. Leader skill's not important, obviously. We just want to see the attack animation. Where's the succubus? Maybe she can make the difference if we can see the SP. The active. And the Sphinx. I don't want to use the Sphinx as the leader because sometimes they are strange and attacking the leader for whatever reason. So let's see how fast the animation is. It's not that fast. I have to take a look again. Wait, why do I haven't seen the laser before? Now it was much faster in my opinion. Okay, we will try to use the exact same lineup as I would try to use against the Titans. That should be enough already. Yeah, that's enough. So at least I will be able to see the active. Okay, the active is kinda slow in my opinion, which might be an advantage. Sadly, I don't have two already, so I can see if both skills fit each other. So now let's try to use a different lineup, which I would probably use if I would have the exposed weakness. Okay, there would be the leader. I sadly can't use the Sphinx as leader at the moment, because I will probably lose it. So we are using a different one. I want to see the Thor Sphinx combination, a Hana and a Venus. Venus? Venus. There. After that, I want to see how it works out with the Pinot. Obviously, they are attacking all at the same time, so let's see. It was really hard to see. I was hitting with a slight delay. I think the Thor might not be able to use it. Ah, damn, why don't I have a Wood Evo 3? That would really help. Yeah. I'm sure the Thor is not able to make use of the skill. The Venus is 100% hitting after the Sphinx, which is not that good. It's a bit hard to test it. I can't use the auto because I can't see if it's really the exposed weakness, and the Evo 1 has probably a different attack animation. Come on, let's heal up as well. Ah, damn. It's not that slow as well. The first attack might fit into each other. That first hitting the exposed weakness, and after that the active, if you're using two of them. That would be interesting. I really would like to try this out somehow. But it's really hard to see if it's really fitting. It's a difference in 0 point something seconds, most likely, if the right monster is hitting the exposed weakness. So let's hold it like this. If you can make use of the exposed weakness, I think the wood one is the best. Especially for newer players or mid-game players that don't have all these Pinoros, Garudas, and whatever stuff. While the fire one is equal to the wood one if you can make use of the exposed weakness. Obviously, if you can't make use of the exposed weakness, I think the fire one is stronger. After that comes the dark one, in my opinion, because he don't have such a high impact, in my opinion, as the fire and wood one. But as you can see, I'm trying to get the maximum damage. For me personally, the dark one is the best. And after that, the water and the light one, which are not as good as those three in my opinion. So yeah, I would give you the advice to go for wood, fire, or dark. And with that, we are done with the review. See you soon, guys. Ciao.